Hey everyone! Have you ever really wanted to learn a new skill, but just felt totally overwhelmed by how long it would take? Well, today, we're going to break down a method for learning way faster than you probably think is possible. Let's kick things off with a huge roadblock that stops a lot of us before we even get started.
Think about it. That language you wanted to learn, that guitar sitting in the corner, or that coding skill you've been meaning to pick up. What's the biggest thing that gets in the way? For so many people, it's this one single, really intimidating idea.
Yep, this number. 10,000 hours. The magic number you supposedly need to hit for true mastery. It just feels like this giant, impossible wall, doesn't it? It's so big, so daunting, that for most of us, it's a complete non-starter. But here's the thing. What if it's not actually a rule? What if it's more of a myth? Because that's exactly how we're going to treat it. And you'll see, once you start looking at it that way, everything starts to change. And look, if you feel overwhelmed by that number, you're not alone. It's a totally valid feeling. I mean, staring down a goal that seems like it's a decade away is pretty discouraging. It's the perfect reason to procrastinate, right? To just abandon the whole thing before you even take that first step.
So what if the goal wasn't perfection after 10,000 hours? What if it was just about, really good in a tiny fraction of that time? What if there was a smarter, more efficient path forward?
Well, there is, and it's known as the 80-20 learning shortcut. Now, this isn't about cheating or cutting corners, not at all. It's about being strategic. It's about applying your effort where it's going to have the absolute biggest impact. The big idea behind this whole thing is something called the Pareto principle. You've probably heard of it. It shows up everywhere in life, and for learning, it's a total game changer. The principle basically says that a small fraction of your effort is what creates the vast majority of your results. And this is where you can really see that imbalance in action. A tiny, super focused 20% of the knowledge can get you a whopping 80% of the skill you're after. It just completely flips the old work harder idea on its head. Now it's all about working smarter. Okay, so how does this actually work, like in the real world? Well, it all boils down to a fundamental truth about how our brains are wired to learn new things. And here it is, the key to everything. Your brain is an efficiency machine. It's not going to waste space remembering abstract information it doesn't think it needs. You have to prove to your brain that this new knowledge is important, and the only way to do that is by actually using it.
And that leads us right into the two main ways we learn things. We've all spent hours on passive learning, reading articles, watching a bunch of tutorials, and yeah, it feels productive. But the real skill building, that happens with active learning, when you're actually doing the thing you're trying to learn.
Let's make this super simple. Imagine you're trying to learn how to tie a tie, okay? You could read a 50-page book on the history and theory of necktie knots, or you could just grab a tie and start trying to do it. Which one do you think is going to get you results faster? It's a no-brainer, right?
So, here's the active learning method in action. You watch one small part of a tutorial, just the first loop. Then you pause the video. This is the crucial part. You immediately do that one action yourself. Then you watch the next step and you repeat the process. You're building the skill and cementing the memory in your brain at the exact same time.
So when you jump in with this active, hands-on approach right from the beginning, you're basically putting yourself on the fast track. You're not just collecting facts, you're building real, usable competence. And you know what? Here's maybe the most motivating part of all. The learning curve isn't some steady, gradual slope. No way. It's incredibly steep right at the start. Your biggest gains and your most visible progress happen in those first few hours of practice.
That initial 20% of effort gets you a massive 80% of the way there. After that, you start to hit the point of diminishing returns, where it takes the other 80% of your effort just to get that last 20% of polish. So the best bang for your buck is right at the beginning.
All right, so let's boil this all down into a simple strategy. First, forget the 10,000-hour rule. The goal is to be competent, not perfect. Next, you got to identify that vital 20% of the skill. Then, you practice that 20% actively, and the result, you get 80% of your goal in a really short amount of time.
It all comes down to this one powerful idea. Stop trying to boil the ocean. Just find the few key actions that deliver the most results and pour your initial energy right into them. That is the secret to unlocking rapid, tangible progress.
So I'll leave you with this question. Now that you know the path to a new skill is a focused sprint, not a 10-year marathon, what will you choose to get 80% good at?